All right, let's get this in. All right, interesting, interesting. I think I'm going to do this actually. I usually wouldn't. Uh, I don't particularly like this particular move. I think it's like one. I think it's one line too low. That's why I don't like it. I'd rather have it be moved over a level. There's not as much. There's only one. There's really only one answer to this, though. I mean, like to this move, but yeah, that was it. Um, I'm just gonna take the corner, I guess. I also don't think this is a very good move, but it sometimes like people just don't know how to respond to something like this. So this is not something I would. That's not how you respond to this. You definitely want to Hane this up here. I mean, you want to Atari this up here. This doesn't really get blacked that much. The fact that he connected gives me a pretty big advantage in this particular Joseki. No, you definitely want to Hane me on this one. Um, I think I'm just gonna connect. Giving me this entire corner is definitely a bad idea, and I still have the S6 move later. Also, if you already have this, you definitely want to double approach me here, because letting me do this is just a little too comfortable. I would definitely say you want to double approach and put pressure on the stone now since you've given up the corner. See here, I'm just going to do this now. I'm going to just solidify myself here and then do this. Then get the Hane. And then just go over here. That forces you into a really odd shape here. I'm actually willing to do this as well. This is fine. My shape right here severely limits your potential for expanding this way. And I'm definitely willing to trade one for one. Definitely willing to trade the corner. So if you really look at it, white has a lot more solid territory than black does. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. But white has a ton more solid territory than black does right now. You might think this is big, but this is not really that big. Probably should have just played that, but this group is not under threat right now. Because I have the corner. This is two eyes pretty easily. Also, I can do this later. This is actually C13 is actually pretty big. Because after I do C13, then like F18 becomes viable. Right now, before I do C13, F18 isn't really viable. I am okay with him trying to cut this because I can just go straight down and that will hurt him a lot. The two stones I can sacrifice. He's not going to be able to kill. I don't think he's going to be able to kill this at all. Like, so this group I just don't really see as being as at a threat. There is some potential for him to make this territory over here, though, definitely. Just going to keep jumping with him. There is a K15, but that's going to be a pretty complicated kind of sequence. Well, right now it wouldn't work at all, but maybe later. And eventually, I'm just going to play like either J17 or J16 or something. That's not really all that relevant right now. Um, this is pretty big, like I said. It's not why I would play that, though. I'm going to have to defend this cut, which is why I'm doing this. He could definitely be in for a bit of trouble now. Because like the reason I extended this was so this move wasn't really effective, so I don't have to answer d14. So he could definitely be in a bit of trouble right now. Yeah.
You have won.
Okay, so let's go back and review this game. Um, there's still a kind of a co thing here, right? Should have done this first. So I do this. So he can do this, which is kind of a weird thing. So it ends up being like this. Uh, I do get some points down here, and this group is very weak. So it kind of ends up being like that. Because I should have, I guess, done this first. Then he has to go down here, and then there's like, other things like this. And I'm pretty sure this is either co-live or I win. I think this is actually co-live, but if this is co-live, then you're in trouble here because like this group is actually really still not that strong. And since I get the Sente, I would fix this problem first. And then, like you have this issue here where I can cut here. So a lot of variations to here. But yeah, this is the wrong move by me. If you just do this though, your black is dead, obviously. But just remember, like, I don't know how to turn the teaching thing off right now. So you can do this. I'm gonna take, um, and that's how it turns out because I'm not really sure. Like, I'm gonna take. You do this. If I do this, then the co is actually really bad for me as well, and I can't just connect because then you can kind of go this way, right? So that wouldn't actually work for me. So I would have to fight this co, and I'm not really interested in fighting this co because that would actually be pretty bad. I don't really have the thing is I don't really have a big co, um, and this co is actually pretty big, honestly. I could do this, but then like this isn't really that much of a co. If I do this, like this doesn't work because you can just go here. So this is a one-shot kill for a co. If I do this and I end up doing this, then you can just come this way and I'm not really sure how this would actually work out. I think I might win this. Yeah, I probably do win this, so you might not want to do that. So I think like for this, if I was going to fight this co, I would just probably do this because I think this is a co threat. But you could, but yeah, Actually, no. If I try to, if um, yeah. So this would kind of be the ko, right? So I would probably just do this. If you connect, I would do this, and then like I don't really know. I guess you could try to do this. I would probably just do this and kill you, and then see what you can actually do about this. I think this is probably dead. Um, so it's not like black doesn't actually have ko's. So that ko wouldn't really favor me all that much. So that's how you deal with that situation. Well, let's actually go back to the beginning. A couple of mistakes that I pointed out while I was playing. So this is going to be the response. That's okay. But this is obvious. This is the most obvious. The Hane is definitely the most obvious response here. If you connect, you let me automatically have an advantage. Then doing that, I'm going to go here. You can't just like leave this alone. This is like letting me have the corners too big. So I'm obviously going to take that. I'm going to connect. And like I said, if you already have this stone, you want to put pressure on this. So doing this and letting me do this kind of like takes the point of that away, more or less. So because like these two stones don't really feel any pressure right now. This is still like I still have a G3 invasion if I really want it. And black didn't really gain that much. Letting me do this, coming up here, and then... So when I do this, you almost... I think black... When I do this, like, yeah, I mean, that's fine, I guess. Letting me Hane, and then letting me Hane, and then, of course, I approach here. So the thing is, like, you've got to find some way. For black, like, you probably just do this. These two stones are very light. It's very hard for me to attack. Like, if I attack here, you can just go over here. Like, you can just sacrifice the stone. The stone's really not worth all that much. And this is actually a Sente, so I would probably end up doing, like, something like this. So, you're fine. Because, like, when I do this, I already spent an extra move. You don't really need to come up. You can just take the other move. And if I do this, you can just kind of, like, take another move, honestly. And it takes me several moves to clean up this here. It's very hard to clean up. So, when I do this, like... When I actually do this, when I actually play this move, you can just go somewhere else. Coming up here, letting me Hane, definitely not very good. I'm just going to go ahead and take the approach here. And for here, like since I already have this group here, there's very limited expansion this way. So you would probably just want to expand this way and let me have whatever this way. So I do the approach. He does the corner. I think this is a win for me overall. I could do this right away. I think this is the correct move, actually, because it would actually force him to answer over here somewhat. But I did this just to kind of protect this. He does that. Yeah, this is always kind of here for this. But I'm just going to go ahead and invade first, which is probably not a good idea. He does that. I come up here, jumps. I think, yeah, jumping is better because this wedge doesn't really work, and I wouldn't wedge that anyways. So jumping is a little bit better. It gets you one space ahead. Does that. I definitely should do this first because that actually does force a reaction. And it does repair, like, anything, this cut here. So I'm going to jump here. This is kind of like I would probably just go ahead and do this. You wouldn't. I would just go ahead and do this, obviously. And this isn't necessarily good for black. I don't know if it puts pressure on this group over here. I don't know if you can kill... I don't think you can. I mean, there is this, I guess. But you have to, like... I mean, white does have an eye here. You could... I mean, you would ko him for this other eye, and that would be a very bad ko for white. So I guess you could do something like that. So this group is somewhat under threat after you get those 3 stones. So it wouldn't be a good exchange for white. White does this. Yeah, I don't think you. Yeah, you can't really kill white. Never mind, because there's an eye here, so you can't really kill white in this instance. You really can't kill white in this instance. So I don't know. If I was white, I would probably make that exchange. But either way, so like the whole purpose of me doing this stone is to so you don't have the D14 force here to connect this, and you would do this, I would do this, and this is the part. Like doing this kind of solidifies this in here. I wouldn't try to jump all this out, and then I would just keep on pressuring white over here. You're not going to be able to kill white, but you would gain enough advantage from pressuring white that it's worth doing that. So you would actually, like when I do this, you would actually do forcing moves over here to solidify like your territory over here and to prevent like white from doing something like f18. Doing something like this doesn't really help. It does not. It doesn't really limit the cut options. So I do this immediately. I jump up, which is probably not right. I mean, this is a better option, obviously, but I jump, um, and you follow jump. This is a better option when I jump because if you do this, you threaten to take the two black stones, and white's basically safe again. Plus, you connect the two groups. So obviously, like you want to do that. Um, I'm going to do this first because I want to protect this wedge. Probably not a great move, but... And now I'm going to connect like this. Once again, like this move is here. And this is what you should do. You should actually connect the two groups. You do let white establish a little bit of a base, but you should actually connect the two groups. Trying to go here, I should do this first, but I ended up kind of like doing this. Once again, I end up like this is kind of like what it ended up as. This is what it should have ended up as, and then we would be forced to kind of like play the ko. But I don't think he actually saw that, so he probably just thought that he probably just saw that being 12k, he probably just saw this and this is dead, and that would more or less end the game. So that is kind of like the transformations there. Just because I disconnected this doesn't mean it's over. You can actually throw in the tiger's mouth to form the ko there. So that is the game here. I will see if anyone wants to play another game, 5 to 12q. And if someone does, I will just accept another game. I'll wait 10 minutes like usual. If there's no one in 10 minutes, I will just go do something else. So I do have a bit of video editing to do today. So there is stuff for me to do today. So there is, I will wait until 4:20 for another game. 5 to 12k. I've moved up the level from like 4 to 5, from 6 to 5. Just to see, so it's more inclusive for more people. But yeah, I'll wait for a couple of minutes, and then if no one joins, then I will just go do something else. But 5 to 12k. All right, there we go. I'm actually gonna just end up doing like gonna just start doing 4/4s. Because I'm basically doing 3/4 every time. Getting used to playing 3/4, but I know how to play the 4/4 a lot as well. Even game-wise, I would actually suggest E16 as the white answer, and rather than jump, I would definitely play E16 as black once this pincer came in. I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm just going to jump here. I don't think getting double pincered is a really good idea. Yeah, I'm just gonna fix this problem here. These two aren't really under threat, and black doesn't really gain that much territory here, so like this group isn't weak anymore, but it's really not that strong either. I I mean, I can opt to do essentially like this at any time. I'm just not going to right now because there's no point, but I can opt to do that at any time. I think that's the wrong move. I don't think you should do that. You do get the corner, but yeah, that's very little. There's really no threat on white here. I don't think there is anyways. Is there? Maybe. No, there isn't. Actually, I probably should have just given up those two. Maybe I did this by. Maybe I made a big mistake. Maybe I did make a big mistake. I think I made a mistake. A fairly large one. Yeah, I definitely made a mistake here. That's alive. Um, Might have been really sketch if he actually played f19 here, though. I don't think so, but I think I could have probably just like lived here. Not 100% sure. Because he can't really afford this. He can't really afford this co either, because it might actually kill that group. But it's a lot heavier for me. But this is actually a really bad result for me because he got a lot of influence up here. I've never actually tried that before. Usually it's not like so usually it's not a move that white would actually do. It's not usually a move that white would actually do. Black would actually do because it does affect like these stones here, but right now like because white was in more danger than I thought white was. Also, when he did this move, I feel like I could have just curled down. So I think that's too small. Okay, I'm probably just not going to play this anymore. What do I do though? I'm going to go up here. Then come up this way. Just reduce whatever possibilities he has over here for points. That mission has already kind of been accomplished. Do this first. This is kind of a. Oh wait, that's not a good move. That is not a good move. It's also the wrong move to counter it, but generally not a good move. I am actually giving up a lot of that's definitely not the right move. It's probably the right one. But this is not a good. This is definitely not. These are not good moves for me. Actually, really bad moves for me. R4? No, it's not. There's several ways you could have prevented R4. The Hane's not cuttable at R4. That is no way cuttable at R4. Just have to reduce his territory. This is kind of a risky move as well. But I would actually separate these stones up here. I don't know if that's going to do me any good, though. I didn't really have to do that. Oh, the mistake. The thing is, like this white group might actually be dead. Might have actually been dead. If he played that right, I'm not 100% sure. Also, like even if it isn't dead, even if this white group isn't dead, like he got way too much influence up here. I mean, he just played this part wrong. He could have actually like you could have leveraged Q13 and then like leveraged this to make a lot more of a moyo. So definitely like he did actually play that wrong. This actually is really big now. That's if not well, actually no, because he has this down here. So I am actually going to go ahead and fix this because I can't have him come up that way. I probably should have just done this actually. Definitely should have just done that. But I do need to make repairs here. So this is Sente. So this isn't going to work. The eye is too big. The eye is just too freaking big for him to actually do anything about. At most, he can take away a couple points there and beat Koliv, but that's not a big deal. Like, see, the purpose of this stone is not to actually cut his stones. The purpose of this particular stone is just to reduce his possible influence here. To reduce his possible influence in territory in the middle. These two stones are completely sacrificable, by the ways. There's really very little territory in the middle. That really didn't need to be answered. I guess no, that was a bad move. That doesn't really. No, you don't really need to answer that. This is pretty big. What? No, I'm just gonna take this. No, I shouldn't have taken that. I should have done something else. Uh, yeah, it's like me not thinking. Me not thinking. Should have done this first, if anything. But that's just me not thinking right. Okay, that's kind of weird. But okay. You have three liberties down there, so it doesn't really matter what you do down here. I'm actually not ahead by too much this game. So this is called using his territory to build my own territory. Like I said, these two stones are sacrificable. I'm trying to get this territory in here. Like, this was probably going to be his territory anyways. That's also not... Oh, okay, that's worth a couple of points there. But it's not significant enough to warrant that. Because this is like a lot of territory up here. See, he can actually break through the territory down here. That is definitely true. Break a couple of points down here. That's most definitely true. But I think this is bigger. Might be wrong about that. I'm not 100% sure. This first. Okay, fair. I don't think, there's no way I can kill him. I don't think there's any way I can kill him. The liberties are a little too tight over here. And this is an eye anyways, so I doubt this will work. This is kind of risky. It's really risky. There's also always the possibility. Yeah, I don't know about fighting this Ko. Seems pretty sketch. He might have killed himself though. Might have just killed himself. But I'm not really sure. Yeah, this is really risky for me. I didn't really calculate this out. And I might have just killed myself. But I don't think so. I think I'm one ahead still. I think I am indeed one ahead. But I don't think he's dead. I think he's okay. So I forgot to do something first.
You have won.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is alive. I'm pretty far ahead, even if this is alive. because if he does this, I have to respond, and then he can just live. If I go, if he does that, so if he does that, if he just he can do this. If I do this, then I'm pretty sure he doesn't win, but like I can't connect that. If he does, if I connect that, then he wins, right? So I can't connect that. I would just have to do this, and obviously that's a big loss for me. So even if I do this, he can just do this, force me to do this, and then he would still be alive. So that this group is actually still alive. So yeah, like I said, generally I would just advise people do this. Um, Jump here, jump out. Although like here, I would definitely do this and pressure, but it's kind of a personal choice thing. Jump out. Just gonna do this. This is not too bad for either side. I like white slightly better on this. Definitely like white slightly better on this. A little territory here, a little territory here. Black, the shape just doesn't really look all that good. That's fine. I would have probably just went ahead and done this because white has to extend. Um, that's actually a bad move by me right now. And I didn't realize how weak these stones actually were. Yeah, see, like me doing this, like just helps black a lot. There's way too much potential. There's way too much potential that I'm actually giving him right now. I don't think you could. I mean, he could have just went somewhere else. That I mean, like what I would have done here is I would have done this, maybe even gone one more. But like I would have done this and then just done something like this. There's a lot of potential here. But even if he blocks, that's fine because I do actually have to live over here. I don't think he would have been able to kill me. You can try to play this, but you don't really have a code that's big enough. So I think I could have just, yeah, at this point, like I could have just done this and I would be alive. I would like white would still be alive, but it's not a very good result for white either way. So you don't actually have to respond to that when white does that. You just do this, he's going to do this, and then you can just jump up here or something. It's a lot of potential here for territory. So that's why this is a big mistake. I have to make his outside very strong. He just took off here. So he's actually ahead by like 5.6 points. I'm going to come here. That's a big mistake. This is automatic Hane. That looks a lot better than doing this, than doing that. So I just jump up here to reduce like this. I reduce the usefulness of this influence. He does that. I'm going to do this first because I know he has to connect. And then that's actually not a very good move. All of this, like, it looks like white is getting a lot of territory from black, but it's really not. And honestly, like, if black just does this, actually white's in quite a bit of trouble. Like, white's actually kind of dead. So, like, I actually messed up on here a lot. I actually messed up here a lot. Because I had to Hane this way first. If I Hane this way first, you do, like, black does have the option just to do this, like, that's a lot of territory here. Because, like, I think, like, people just forget about these kill moves. If I do this, like, if you do this, I'm in a bad spot. If you do this, I'm in a bad spot, right? I can probably just, I can just take the corner, though. But I guess, I mean, that's what I would actually do, is white, I would actually just take the corner. I do this first, but you can also do that. So I would probably just try to take the corner first. But at the same time, like this is not a great result for white because these two stones give him a lot of thickness, and I just don't think like this invasion's a good one. But he did not do that. But like I said, I would have kind of just done this. I would do this to see like what white does. I would definitely do that to see what white does. I feel like there's essentially no way that white can win this fight. So I definitely would have done that. I definitely would have done this. Because you can Hane up and then connect, but like I said, this is not a good situation for white. White basically has no eye space, and with this realistically, you could just cut as well. I think white would actually have to play this way, and I'm not really sure. I don't think white wins that fight in any. I don't see a circumstance where white actually wins that fight. So that's kind of like what I would actually do with that. So this is not a good invasion. This actually turned out okay for me. Um, but like even at this point, like you might think like, oh, white got a lot of territory. This invasion was not advantageous for white. This invasion was not advantageous for white at all. Because like this is way too much territory. If he just plays L6, there's a lot of territory here, and he still threatens this group. So that's a big mistake. You can still cut here, and like you can just gain a lot of advantage here. You can actually get all this territory after a while. So this is a huge mistake. This is actually a big mistake connecting. I can't actually cut there. I'll just say you can just kind of play this way. This doesn't work. This really doesn't work. Yes, I mean yes, I can play this way, but like this isn't really worth all that much. So this is perfectly fine for black. So you did not need to connect here, and that's actually a pretty critical mistake because doing this is pretty bad. Then that allows me to come over here to reduce this territory, reduce this potential. He does this. I'm going to do this first. And then this does not need to be answered. I mean, whether you do this or you do this, like that doesn't need answering at all. This is kind of pointless. Also, this is okay, I guess. And then I think like after this move is played and this is safe, this move isn't worth it because there's just not much territory here. You're simply defending 6 or 7 points. Of course, I'm just going to take advantage of this first and then do this because this is actually more than 6 or 7 points. That's an entire corner. And also like because I have this here, like this isn't really worth all that much either. Of course, I'm going to fix this because if you do this and I don't respond, now this becomes now this actually does become now this does actually become like a real problem because you can just do this, right? So obviously like trading like this move with this move is obviously and honestly I in all honesty I probably should have just done this, but trading this move and this move is to white's advantage because it gets rid of the problem down here, and this doesn't really gain that much for black. That's not a good move. Obviously, that's going to be Sente. And that just gives me more points because you can't kill this group. I'm going to counter on that. That's fine. This is... Okay, so if you're going to do this, you might as well just go ahead and do this. Get a little bit of territory here. That's what you should actually do if you're going to do that. This doesn't really make any sense. It gives me Sente. It allows me to jump here to reduce any kind of territory this has left. That's definitely not worth playing right now. There's no territory in here, and this group isn't really under threat. That's pretty big. I don't think I would have responded if I was black. I would have probably just done this or something, or gone some other big move, because there's not too many points here. You respond, you already give white that advantage. So I wouldn't have responded there. This, I guess that's okay. And then this is pretty big. This is actually pretty big because it's a shape thing. You extending up here and me conning this is a pretty big difference. That's fine. Me taking this is a mistake. I should have just played this or something. I guess like I could have just went ahead right now and played this. I think that's actually fairly big right now. But I end up taking this. That's fine. That doesn't really make any sense because this is just giving me points. The reason I did this is to actually like have some potential for this territory. Like this move is actually fairly big right now because I would have to retreat, and there's always like these kind of moves as well. So the reason for me doing this is like to trade like whatever you have here for some territory here because you already have this territory. So you doing this, I do that. I'm not going to answer that right now because I believe this is bigger right now. But this is actually pretty big. I probably should have done this first. I might have been able to do that first, but like, I don't know. Like it's pretty close. Like between this move, between like fixing this and haning this, I chose haning this. It's pretty close to which one's bigger. I mean, I'm going to obviously extend this up here first. I believe like taking these two is bigger than these three right now. So we protect, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this. So what I should have done is I should have actually done this first probably. But in the end, it didn't end up mattering, I guess. But like I said, this group is actually alive if you do this, because I have to respond in kind, and then you can just live. So that's how that fight actually goes. That's how I took a little bit of advantage there. Like I actually fell behind after this sequence by a lot, and this sequence, because these were really bad sequences for me, and I basically took little advantages to claw back in the game. So that's just like the difference in playing skill, playing strength, more or less. But like this invasion and this invasion, this play here and this invasion were really bad for me. So that's the game today. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button, and I'll be back hopefully tomorrow.